Hey everyone, Port Pro Scale Models, welcome to another video build. Today we're building Revell's 1/25th 71 Ford Mustang 351 combined with the Iceman Collection's Widebody kit. Right, yes, quite a mouthful there on the intro, but that is the plan today. I've seen this build a few times knocking around on Facebook. Always thought it looked pretty cool. Myself and Andrew Dewar decided to buy it with the aim of doing a buddy build further down the line. And we did. So we've had it for quite a while. One of the other guys in the group, James, decided he wanted to build a wide-body Mustang after he bought a 3D printer. Ironically, he bought the black box file, which is the same file that Iceman Collections uses. I thought, that looks just like mine. Had a look and we realised it was the same kit. So you can either buy from Iceman Collections already printed, or buy the file yourself on Cults 3D and print it off at home on your own 3D printer. So we decided to do a buddy build. Myself, James Williams, Paul Young, Andrew Dewar decided to do a buddy build. 2 of us with home printed and 2 of us with the Iceman Collections kit. So this is what we're going to do. So you're going to see my effort of building this today, which I'm going to give my honest opinions at the end of the build, because I very nearly didn't build this after seeing the quality of the 3D print I bought versus the quality of the 3D print that was printed at home, because there was a vast difference in the quality. But we'll discuss that at the end of part 3 a little bit more. So yes, this was the build that nearly wasn't, and so much so that Andrew didn't end up building his build because print was that bad. So a real shame, but you're going to get my honest opinion throughout the build here. And we're going to start the build with me dry fitting parts with some double-sided tape after spending about 3 hours sanding out all the layer lines in the print. So yeah, let's jump into the build and get started. Straight in with some test fitting of the trans kit. Now, like I say, I spent several hours sanding back all the transition lines on this body kit. The print quality was not the best at all, pretty poor in my opinion, and also the fit to the body not the best. So I originally didn't plan to blend these body panels in, but by the gaps in the wings and the print, I'm going to have to. So with some double-sided tape, we're test fitting everything to see how it fits, and the fit isn't too bad dimensionally. We do have to cut off our wheel arches, so I'm just marking it roughly with a Sharpie, and then we're going to grind away all the plastic with our Proxxon rotary tool and a sanding drum to remove all the plastic. So just double checking we've got it all marked properly. Same on the back as well. Just lining up the bodywork roughly where it needs to be. Now, this is going to replace our wheel arches, so we're going to have to take quite a bit off. When it comes to actually fitting the body kit later on, I'm going to notice I need a little bit more. So on a medium speed, about 10,000 RPM, I'm just going to gently remove all the material. Now, I originally used a milling bit. It was a bit vicious. So the sanding drum is definitely the way to go. It's a bit more forgiving. So you just need a steady hand. Just take your time and just remove a little bit of material at a time. Now, it will kind of bunch up the plastic, so you'll need to stop periodically and pull it off. But as a tool to get rid of the wheel arch, this works really well. Nice, quick and simple. And we'll just sand all this back later to give us a better finish. You can see, just removing a little bit of the plastic, just having a double check, make sure we haven't gone too high. And there's plenty of plastic there in between the body kit and the plastic of the car. So we can go right to the top of our proposed mark. Just very gently. And there we go. So that's the majority of what needs removing taken off. We can just shape it so we've got a nice shape on the wheel arch. Same on the front as well. Does make a nice mess of the workbench. It's a nice simple job. Of course, you can cut this out by hand if you wanted. Use a razor saw. You could scribe it with your knife, but for me, this is by far the easiest way. I like the Proxxon tools. Mine's got a foot pedal on it, makes it a lot easier to use, a lot more user friendly. and not as high speed as some of the Dremels. This will go down to about 5,000 RPM, which is ideal for working with plastic. As you can see, there's some gentle sanding to reprofile the wheel arches, and there we go. And again, we'll just test fit it, make sure everything fits okay still, but we'll finalize this later on down the line. Now, we've got a lot of work today to get this in place. Like I say, the fit is not the best. We've got some epoxy putty to try for the first time, so it's going to be an interesting experiment. First of all, we're going to go through and get rid of all the seam lines on the body. So we've done this kit before. We built the yellow one a few months back, so I'm not going to pay too much attention to stuff we've already shown in detail on that kit. But there are seam lines all around the back, all around the side, running down to the front. Because it's a new Revell kit, they're not that pronounced. Not too bad at all. So just some light sanding with the UMP 220 sponge thinny stick, or thinny sponge. We can remove these. So a little bit of work cleaning it up, and we're also going to clean up our wheel arches as well. So as you can see, we are taking a fair bit of material off the body. We've left the strengthening spar in the engine bay for now as well. And there we go. Right then, so while we're at it, while we've got the body clean, we're going to keel the surface with our 2000 grit Tamiya sponge. This is in preparation for our primer. Once we start getting the body panels on, we're going to introduce more grease and dust and whatnot, but I just thought to key all this while I could get to it. And also keying all the areas where the body panels are going to be glued in place will help glue them in place as well, because it will create a more porous surface for the glue to grab. So just a matter of course, this go around all the body with the sanding sponge. We've got some Pro Scale paint degreaser. And what I'm going to do at the minute is just concentrate on where the trans kit body panels are going to fit. So we're going to clean the plastic on the body, and more importantly, clean the resin. Now the resin will have some residue on it from the printing process. So we're going to remove all this. It's an alcohol-based cleaner, the Pro Scale cleaner, very, very good at degreasing. So wipe it on, wipe off any excess, and anything else left behind will evaporate away very quickly. Now we're going to use a multitude of different CA glues, all from Bob Smith's. We're going to use the purple gap filler medium and the pinky purple extra thick as well to glue these in place. So the first job we're going to do is to get them just glued in place where they want them. So I'm going to have a quick test fit where they go, just to have a look roughly where we're going to go, because we've got to be quick here, because once this glue grabs this resin, it's going to dry very, very fast. So we want as minimal error as possible. So I'm going to apply a generous amount of it to the resin. Like so. We've got a precision tip on the glue bottle as well. And we're going to put this back piece on first. So I'm going to line it up as good as possible before we commit to glue it in place. I've just held it against my body, so I'm a little bit out of shot. I'm literally lining up the back to get it exactly where I want it. And ensure I've got no glue on my fingers. Well, then line up the front and then just hold it for a second or two. I'm going to get a cotton bud while I can and wipe off as much excess CA glue as possible. And just keep hold of it until it grabs, like so. And again, I'm going to grab a cotton bud. Any excess CA glue will wipe off now. And then with a little bit of CA glue debonder, we can wipe off any larger areas of CA glue that may have splurged out with this. So this won't harm the plastic or the resin, and it will take off excess CA glue. Luckily, there's not a lot. So this will help fill that seam in there. So what I plan to do is completely remove the seam on the upper surface, but I'm going to leave the bottom one semi there, if that makes sense. It'd be an absolute pig to try and flush all the side pieces in. So I'm not going to attempt to do that. So we're just going to apply CA glue to hold everything for now. So we're going inside as well. This is where the precision tips come in absolutely perfect, because you're getting all those nooks and crannies. Like I say, first job is just get all this secured in place, and then we can start applying some beads of glue in the gaps. You can see the gap on top, how bad it is. This is what I mean about the fit of the kit. So my plan here was to get the precision tip in the gap with some of the thicker gap filling glue, and then a little bit of pressure in the middle, close the gap up like so. Now the problem here is I want to add some kicker, but I need both hands, both thumbs, to keep that closed. So my idea here was, well, you'll see it in a minute. We're going to wipe off any excess just quickly first, and I'm going to hold that. I'm going to put the CA glue pointing at the part, and then hold the part at the right height, hold it with my fingers, and then use my chin to press the CA kicker like so, and get it to spray where I want it, and job done. There we go. So there's the two side pieces on the front and back. So desperate times call for desperate measures. So yeah, it worked. It's glued in place, and with those in, we get the side skirt in place as well. And again, the fit is not too bad at all. So generous amount of CA glue on that piece as well. And then get it all lined up and just glue it in place. So just hold it for a second or two. The Bob Smith sticker glue is very, very good at grabbing parts like this. Just needs a few seconds of grab time. Making sure all flush, and there we go. Then what we're going to do on the inside is apply a nice generous bead on the inside to give it some structural rigid strength on the inside of the skirt as well. So this was a lot of work. It's cut down into 20 minutes or so of work, but we're already into 2-3 hours of sanding all the layer lines out the resin, which was pretty dire on my kit. We're probably a good hour or so into getting the body panels on, if not more. And we've got a lot of filling to do. So everything's in place now. I'm just sanding back all the CA glue marks off the top of the wings for now. I've already resigned myself to know I'm going to have to fill. So I'm just getting rid of as much of the CA glue as possible on it while keying the resin at the same time, just to give us as good a fighting chance as possible to get a nice clean finish on this body. So to fill these in, I've got the Tamiya Epoxy Putty, which was recommended me to by my buddy Dan Parent, who'd used it on his Mercedes Widebody kit. Never used it before, never had much luck with epoxy fillers, but I thought I'd give it a go, and boy was it good. It was really good stuff. It worked fantastic on this. It's a two-part epoxy, which is this now. So you get two parts, and you need to cut off equal lengths, knead them together so they're an equal colour, and then apply it, and 8 hours later it's dry, ready to sand. Now if you are going to use this, what I would say is mix 1/10 of what you think you will need, because you will not need anywhere near the amount you think you will. But it's very, very good. It's tricky to get out the back, as you can see. I'm struggling a little bit here. But you just cut off equal amounts. Like I say, I didn't even remotely need this much. That's a case of just knead it all together until it goes an equal colour. I'm reading the instructions there. And then we're going to apply it. Now, applying it's a bit of an art. The first time round, I just smushed it in place. After letting it dry, sanding it all again, and realising I need a second go over, I did like a long sausage roll of it and beaded it across where it wanted to go, and that worked much better. So in future, I'll roll it and bead it into the gap instead. So as you can see, it's very, very sticky stuff. So it is a bit of a pig to get on. As you can see, it is a little bit of a nightmare. So it's a case of smudging it in place if you're doing it this way, and just working it back. Now, if you wet your fingers, it does help smooth it out. So as you can see, I'm just trying to spread it across the top of the gap at the minute, just to infill that seam. What we're going to do, we're going to blend all the trans kit into the original bodywork. So this is the first time I filled it all. So getting it all in place, dropping it on the bench. There we go. We just smooth it out until we get it spread where we want it. like so. And then with a wet finger, I'm just going to smooth it out a little bit more. What this will do is to take off any excess, and it'll help smooth out what's there. Now, I think this took me 3 attempts in total to get the filler where I wanted it. I left it 12 hours each time before I sanded. So this was about 3 days work to do this. A lot of time and effort, but I think it paid off because it was near flawless when it was done. And I think that's down primarily to this epoxy putty. It's very, very good. I've got a silicone tool here that I'm just using to try and smooth out the filler a little bit, just to save me some time sanding later on. So just get rid of any excess and then smooth it down with my finger. And like I said, we're going to repeat that on the top of all 4 of the fenders, or the wings. And same on the back as well. We've already put this on and smoothed it out with our wet finger. Just wiping off any excess with a cotton bud. So don't think you're going to get this on in one go. I would say at least 2 goes to get it all in place. As you can see, once it's wet, it does smooth out really, really well. There we go. So that is now dried, and I can still see some areas of mist. So I'm going to apply a long, thin sausage bead of the epoxy right over the top where we need it. And that way I can literally place it on top exactly where I need it, and then press it down to get it in place. And this worked a lot better. So if I was to redo this, this is what I'd do from the start, because it did work a million times better. So there we go, just putting the sausage in place. Getting exactly where we want it. As you can see, it does get everywhere. And there we go. So this is now dry. This is probably the next day. We've got a very coarse UMP 180 sander. And I'm going to get rid of the majority of this first. Now, it did sand really well. It didn't shrink back at all, really. So I'm quite impressed how well it did. So I'm going to use this sander to remove the majority of the putty. And then we'll finish it off with the 220 that we've got here now to get us a nice, smooth finish. So what we want to do is blend this in so we have a flawless seam between the body kit and the body of the car. So that, again, a few hours of sanding and fettling. I think it took me 3 days to get these blended in. It was a lot of work, but I think it was worth it in the end. It paid off. We did end up with some very nice seams, well, no seams to be honest, on the bodywork. It did work really well. And there we go, same on the back as well. Just take your time here. You don't want to be reprofiling the car body or the resin. So just some gentle sanding. This is quite an aggressive sponge sander, but it's removing the filler very quick. And then once we're happy that's done, we can go to the 220 sponge and get it nice and smooth. And again, if you think it needs another application, you can do it by all means. What I did was did a test prime over these areas just to see how it looked, and then I put the boot spoiler on and blended that in while I infilled some of the slight imperfections I had left behind. So that worked really well because I showed any imperfections. Now in the side skirts where any of the CA glue hadn't quite kind of filled it, I had some Vallejo putty, which is like a ceramic putty. So the beauty of this stuff is it dries really quick. But if you put it in an area and use a moistened cotton bud that I definitely did not lick, you can wipe it off and leave a semi didn't lick that either, seam behind. And this is exactly what I wanted here. I kind of got that look a majority with the CA glue. So I just wanted to fill any imperfections that I hadn't quite got in with the cotton bud. And this worked quite well. And again, you just remove it with moist cotton bud, get the excess out like so. One tip I would give is throw the cotton buds away when you're done, because if you re-lick them, or don't re-lick them like I just did, with filler on, they don't taste good at all. So with everything dry for a few hours now, I'm going to do a test prime. Now I'm going to prime this in Tamiya primer. And the reason I'm doing that is because I've got so many nooks and crannies. It's going to be difficult to sand. And I want to lay the primer on quite thick to try and help, blend in some of the seam lines where we join the panels to the body, and some of the atrocious layer lines in the print quality as well. So I opted to use Tamiya primer on this. Our primer, the Pro Scale, would work perfect, but to get in all the nooks and crannies and sand would be a little bit of a nightmare. So I thought we'll use Tamiya grey primer. It's been decanted, thinned about 20% with Tamiya lacquer thinner, and airbrush is really nice. And I'll be honest, I did a really good job. We probably 90% filled. There was a few little spots that I'll flat back in a bit. You'll see me flat them back. But we need to get the boot spoiler on still. So that will all need filling in place as well. And we'll get all those imperfections, little pinholes or tiny little marks filled in at the same time. So we'll prime this, leave for a good few hours to dry. Then we can come back and work on the rest of it. But as it's going, it's not going too bad. You can see the look of the car already. It is looking really good. Now, I did toy with not putting the spoiler on. There was 4 of us originally building this car. That turned into 3 because Andrew had this same kit we bought from Iceman. And the quality of the kit just put him off building it. But Paul and James printed off their black box kit by their own purchase STL from Black Box on Cults and printed it themselves. And their kit just seemed so much better quality than this one. So it's a real shame that I paid £45 for this kit and they paid £10 between them for a file and printed it off for pennies worth of resin, and ended up with a better quality print. It is a real shame, but anyway, I wasn't going to let it defeat me, and I cracked on and we did the best job possible. So the rear spoiler we've glued in place. We've now filled it in with the epoxy putty as well. I've also infilled any imperfections on the bodywork that I had from previous filling and sanding. I'm just going to key all the primer now, ready for another coat of primer. So we're going to need to blend in the areas that have been previously sanded back. So we're feathering all the edge of those with the sander, and then we need to prime the spoiler pieces that we've literally just put in place. So again, Tamiya grey primer, a few light coats of this with the Iwata the Iwata CR3 Revolution 0.3 airbrush at about 18 psi. I'm going to put several coats on, including the bonnet as well. Like I say, we've got a bit of a patchwork quilt on the main body now, so we just need to slowly infill those and get them all blended in nice. But overall, it's gone together not too bad. The body kit's in, it's blended in place really nice. It needs a little bit of tweaking on that spoiler just to get it all blended in. So we did have another sand and prime session after this one, but overall, very happy how this has gone together. A little bit of work, probably about 3 or 4 days in here just to get to the primer stage. But this thing's going to look epic when it's done, because I've seen the kit build before. It does look very good. So there we go, just checking everything's getting blended in, make sure we've got no imperfections anywhere. And it's looking good. It's going to look very cool once done. Now, the colour choice on this, I was originally going to do it in one of our flip paints, and I opted to do it in Ford Liquid Blue, which is one of the factory colours of the Ford GT. Now, when I originally sprayed it, I was like, does it need to go over a black or a grey primer? And I thought I'd try the grey, and the grey is obviously not the correct colour. But I just wanted to show the effect I got. This colour, how cool is that effect? And I very nearly kept it this colour. Because I think if I built it up the coat a few more, it would have been a very cool effect. But in the end, I opted to respray it. So we did put a couple of coats down of this. Had a look, I thought that looks really cool, and then thought, no, it needs a black base. So if you do buy this paint from us, it does require a black base. I would recommend our deep black, but I actually used BMW Carbon Black on ours, and I did originally kind of spray this and think, you know what, I really like that colour. So this is like a purpley black colour from BMW, I think once clear coated, this would look really cool. So several light coats of this. And yeah, a beautiful colour. Really, really nice. I left it. I went off to play some Xbox for a bit, and I just thought, nope, it needs to be the liquid blue. So I came straight back out that night and resprayed it. But this colour, I think this clear coated, this is one I'm going to earmark for a future build, because I think this will look absolutely phenomenal once cleared, because it's such an unusual colour. It's called carbon black. It is essentially like a deep aubergine purple with a nice pearl flip to it. I think this is going to be a very cool colour to use on another build later on. So probably 6 or 7 coats of that on the body, and then we're back with the liquid blue. And you'll see why I changed my mind, because this colour looks phenomenal. So there's the carbon black we already put down, and this is the liquid blue. So you'll instantly see the colour of the liquid blue go down on the body, and just how cool a colour effect it gives. And I'm very happy I did this, because the colour at the end just looks phenomenal. Now, if you're using this paint, you could leave this paint at any stage you want and keep the effect. So even with just one coat of paint over this base colour, this colour looks phenomenal. There you go, look at that. Absolutely beautiful pearl effect. So you could just do one coat and then clear coat it and have a beautiful colour. I wanted the really deep blue colour of the Ford liquid blue, so I opted to keep going. So this is the first couple of coats going down. This is probably the end of that first coat going down. You can just see the colour starting to build up and just how good it starts to look. So again, this is the hour to CR3, 18 psi. I'm just putting down nice, light, thin coats, leaving about 3 to 5 minutes between each coat for it to flash off. You can just see the beautiful colour. Now, the reason I picked a colour like this is this car's got so many angles with those arches and vents and what have you. I think it needs a colour that will make it pop, which is why I went for this liquid blue. I did originally have one of our colour shift colours marked. I think it was liquid. Was it liquid lava? No, the autumn flash, I think it was. No, sunrise gold, sorry, it was. But I chickened out at the last minute and thought, no, do you know what? I'm going to use a Ford colour on a Ford car, and we're going to bring it up to modern day. So this is a modern day colour on a classic car that is, I suppose it is technically a resto mod, isn't it? And I just think the colour building up, the way it just covers, is absolutely beautiful. So I left this first spinning, just so you can see how the colour lays down. And obviously I'm paying attention to all the nooks and crannies. We've got all the vents inside the arches, the bottom of the skirts, all around the engine bay to do. So there's a lot of painting on this car, and it did take quite some time to get it all done. But I think the overall effect's going to be worth it. Once this is clear coated, it's going to absolutely pop. You can really see the colour now when I spray the hood or bonnet. Yes, this, look, hello. You can literally see the effect of the blue going down and how beautiful the colour it actually is. Really cool colour. Like I say, you could pick where to stop along the way putting these coats of paint down to get the effect you want. For me, I wanted that a real deep blue, so I kept going. And I probably put about 7 or 8 coats down of this paint. There we go. So there's one good coat of paint on all the body parts. We'll put that to flash off for a minute. Probably back now at about coat number, I think I'd say it's about 8. I think we're on our last coat here. You can see the beautiful blue colour, which once we get this clear coated, which will be in the next video, is going to look absolutely phenomenal. So this is the colour I wanted on this car. This was the colour I was going to originally do on the Ford GT we recently finished. And I'm glad I picked this car for it, because I think it shows all its curves and shapes really well. So yeah, about 8 light coats of this. Pro scale, you can get our paints in the description down below. They are pre-thinned lacquer paints. And if there's a colour on there we don't have, give us a shout. We mix colours at no extra cost. And as you can see, they spray absolutely beautiful. So like I said, we'll be back in part 2 very soon for clear coat and to get some other work done. If you want any access to these videos, you can become a patron in the link down below. There's loads of perks that come with a patron. And I will catch you all in part 2 very soon. So thanks for watching today. Please leave a comment down below. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up and make sure you sub to the channel. And I'll catch you all next time. Take care. Bye-bye.